Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Millions of people have lost weight with personalized plans from Noom. Like Evan, who can't stand salads and still lost 50 pounds.
Salads generally for most people are the easy button, right? For me, that wasn't an option. I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. But Noom worked for me.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom user compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
Welcome, guys, to another classic Heavy Metal Tones episode. As you might know, I am, or don't know, if this is the first one you're listening to, I'm currently back in the UK as we speak, dealing with my father who's passed away recently, and helping my brother organise things. So, sad times for me, but, you know, these things come to all of us, unfortunately. He was elderly and was sick, so it's a blessing, really. That aside, I haven't got time to record any of the album episodes I had planned to come up, so as this was a bit of a last-minute thing, I thought I'd give you a classic episode again. And this classic episode is one of my favourite Iron Maiden ones I did. This is Somewhere in Time. I love doing it. Again, it was with the old microphone, the old room setup. So I don't know if you're going to hear the difference. You connoisseurs of HMT might do, I don't know, before I could upgrade to a better system. But I still think it's a really good episode, and I hope you enjoy it as well. It's from 2022, so some time ago now. Can't believe I've been going for almost 4 years. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, I will be back soon. I've got some brilliant ideas that I want to lay down and listen for you to listen to. So enjoy this classic episode, and, you know, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now. Hello guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. We're going to talk about the latest offering into the Iron Maiden month in a few minutes. I just want to say a big thank you to all those that have donated to Buy Me a Coffee, and those that are regularly listening to this show. I have a lot of them now across the world, which is really encouraging. I do this just for the music community and the love of music, so it really does make me smile. I think people are listening. Please do, though, when you are on Spotify or Apple, please do give me a 5-star review, or whatever stars you want to give. Just go pop over and give me a review. You have to click 2 seconds to click, and click that 5. It gives me a bigger audience, because the way the algorithm works, I get to more people will see my program, and we can all join in together with this nutty world we live in. Anyway, thank you for that. Thank you for the listening. Here we're going forward. So this week's episode, as you can tell by the picture and the thumbnail, if you're not if you haven't noticed just yet, it's Somewhere in Time. It was the Iron Maiden's album that they produced just after the World Slavery Tour of 84-85. It was a physically draining tour, 331 days, comprising 187 concerts, that resulted in exhaustion in Bruce Dickinson, and it's the reason why that he has no songwriting credits on this album, which is unusual. It's the only one with him in the band where this doesn't happen. The only material he did have was rejected, sadly. He wanted to go in a direction of sort of your Led Zeppelin, your Stairway to Heavens, and your and Zeppelin 4 and Physical Graffiti, sorry. And the band didn't want that. He wanted more acousticy stuff. He felt they were one-dimensional. And so I think, honestly, that's probably to do with the tiredness more than anything. But he was burnt out. I mean, that kind of tour, these days, probably easier because he'd fly them. He'd do stuff. And also there'd be more 5-star hotels and a bit more pampering. And I mean, they famously don't turn up to gigs to do walkthroughs and run-throughs and sound checks because they know their music after this many years. You can't blame them for not, and as they're getting on, it's easier to do that. There was songs on the album that came from previous recordings. So Adrian Smith wrote Wasted Years and Strangers in a Strange Land, which he had sort of had in the process previous to that. They were the 2 singles that come off the album. And they're the only 2 on the album not to feature synthesizers, and that's a really, really apt point there. This album, the reason I chose it is the sound, not so much the songs or their content, but the sound they produce. This sound, this very sort of specific sound that they made for this album, is very much the Maiden sound that I think of the most. Interesting, isn't it? You think, I think of the Power Slave or the Pordiano or the Number of the Beast. No, this one, Somewhere in Time. It's got my favourite Eddie. I think most people's favourite Eddies, to be honest. Cyborg Eddie. But also, it's just that guitar synth sound, and they didn't really use it afterwards, in small parts. I mean, it was down to Dave Murray experimenting with new equipment. This marked a change in the sound for Iron Maiden. It was their first with guitar synths, as I said. Although the next release in 1988, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, had some keyboards on it. There's a difference between guitar synth and keyboards. Those out there that don't know. They also, it was the first time they'd taken time off between records. They'd always recorded once every year. This was the first time that they had a gap in between. And they didn't want to be hurried. Harris said that he finds this is the more expansive of the records because the bass and drums recorded in the Bahamas, the guitars, vocals recorded in the Netherlands, and the mixing taking place in New York. So very globe-trotting, and I think you can hear that in the sound. It has space and time themes, which Steve Harris has said that he doesn't consider it a concept album, even though a lot of the stuff mixed around the themes are space and time. I think, thinking back on it over the week that I've been listening to it and reading the notes, that even more so it would be, why you can see why he would have written that. That they've spent 331 days touring. That's almost the entire year working. That's not many days off. And so time becomes something that you'll think of a lot. Like I said before, as the great Douglas Adams said, lunchtime, time is an illusion, lunchtime doubly so. He used to say that he liked the sound that Deadlines made as they whooshed past as well. But you can see why then that it would be sort of fixated within time, because they had used up so much of their time touring the amazing Power Slave album. So I really think, yes, it's a concept album. It's not a concept album per se. Could you find a story in it? No, but you can find a contextual link. Try and say that after 4 pints of lager. A contextual link through those. Okay, and again, the 2 singles, Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land. Strange in a Strange Land, not so much a time thing, although when we talk about it later on, you could probably understand why there is some time themes, but it's made like Wasted Years, definitely so. Heather Can Wait as another time-related one, if you think about it as well, and one of those favourite sing-along songs that they released. It runs in at 51 minutes and 18 seconds, so slightly longer than the previous few albums by maybe 2 or 3 minutes. You know, there are themes like a song like Deja Vu, again, all to do with time and relapses of time and things happening before. Russell. Sorry, they're my notes. Okay. The two singles that were released off of it. So they both interestingly charted at 18 in the UK charts. The first one was Wasted Years. The song deals with the subject of homesickness, alienation, never the negative aspects of the band's early long previous tours and personal problems that Smith and other members of the band were going through at the time. The chorus suggests the idea that one should move beyond past troubles and look forward. The original working title was Golden Years, and that can be heard on the Somewhere on Tour bootlegs. It is the first time that the solos are written wholly by hang on, that could be Somewhere in Time. Yes, it was. Scrap that. We'll go to ignore what I just said then. Okay. It was the video was shot in Frankfurt, and it features the video game Rock Band. The song is featured in the latest the blah, 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 blah. Apologise for that. It's been one of those days. It was featured in the game Rock Band. Look, is it my favourite of the songs off the album? Probably not. Is it the best, most radio friendly? Yeah, I'd say it definitely is. It was the B-side of it actually is Life in the City by Smith's prior band Urchin. They recorded it originally, and then they re-recorded it for the band. It also became there's also a B-side again mocking Smallwood called Bayswater Ain't the Bad Place to Be. It's in the Quick or Be Dead single, or the B-side of the Quick or Be Dead single. The song is composed in the key of E of those people that are music note people. I'm just reading off some notes I wrote down here. I hope you're finding it informative and not boring. It was played a lot on the Ed Hunter tour and the Seventh tour, which I saw Maiden at Donington and the Seventh Son of the Seventh Son tour, and they played it there, and I remember it vividly. I'm very lucky to have been there. Okay, it was also covered by Adrian Smith's band Psycho Motel as well. Yannick Gers often played the solo on the Real Live tour. Judah Smith had been left the band previously. The next single that came off it was Stranger in a Strange Land. This is an interesting song. This is basically about the Arctic explorer who dies in the frozen ice, and 100 years his body is found preserved and by other people exploring there. Adrian Smith was inspired to write this by a song after talking to an explorer who had similar experiences discovering a body in the polar wastes. The guitar solo, as I was mentioning back earlier, which I got mixed up with, is the first that Smith played with where he didn't go at a breakneck speed. He felt he had breath and time to play, space to play. It wasn't as fast and as aggressive and as heavy as it have been in the past. It allowed him little time to stretch out, he said, in a 2020 interview. The cover of the single is quite iconic. It's probably the most iconic single, I think, outside of the Run to the Hills singles for me, with the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name Eddie, Cyborg Eddie in the hat and the gun. It truly is that, I think, that moment in Maiden, and we're going to talk about the cover on the B-side of this interview, this podcast, where there's so much to talk about that. It's going to probably take almost the whole second side. It's probably my favourite song on the album, for the fact that it does have that bluesy stretch in the guitars. The B-side, That Girl and Juanita, both played during the entire Russell. to the entire population of Hackney in a secret gig that Adrian Smith played with Nico McBrain. It's actually written. That girl was written by Merv Goldsworthy and Pep Jupe and Andy Barrett for their band FM, so they covered that. And Juanita was originally played by Barrett's band Marshall Fury in the 1980s. It was written by Steve Barnacle and Derek O'Neill. Marshall Fury never recorded this song so it was only ever recorded by Maiden. I love the way that Maiden do stretch out and play homage to their influences. I really love the fact that they had B-sides, which you never got before. You don't get anymore. You don't get B-side. You don't flip it over and get a whole new song that's not on an album that you can cherish, because they just don't do it, because the physical medium isn't released anymore. Therefore, why would you bother putting B-sides on? You're not going to put a B-side on a download. That's my old man moan over and done with. Now, when we get to the B-side of this, we're going to chat more about a quick chat about the album itself, the song in a quick rundown. But I'm going to go over the mammoth task of what's on the cover. If any of you own the physical cover on CD, good luck. On CD it's a bit harder. On vinyl, you can honestly, while pause it, go and get the album and have a look around the album with me as we go by all the in-jokes that poor Derek Riggs had to put in onto the album. It's quite an intense... I'm not going to go over all 45 in-jokes. I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I found intriguing, and I hope you find intriguing too. And that's the beauty, isn't it, of having art form in the art form of medium of vinyl that you can open up and read and look. You don't need a magnifying glass. There's lots of forums out there of what's on this cover and what it all means. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. I'm going to go put the kettle on, get these old vocal cords a bit of a oil. Sorry about the sputtering earlier, it just happens sometimes. Me, I'm not going to stop and edit it. I just find that stuff tiring and it gets in the way of creativity. We'll talk a quick rundown, as I said, about track by track, what I feel of them, and then we'll move on to the incredible artwork that's on that album. And I hope you go and pause this now while the ads are on, go and grab the album, and I'll talk to you on the B-side. Time for now. Welcome back, guys. I've had my tea brewing for a minute or two while the ads were playing, and now we're ready to chat about the album itself. So 51 minutes and 40 seconds, as I mentioned, 8 songs. The track order goes Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait, The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, Strangers in a Strange Land, Deja Vu, and Alexander the Great. Now, as I said before on the A side there and previously, it is sort of a time-themed album. Your Wasted Years, as I mentioned previously, won't go into there. Sea of Madness, Heaven Can Wait. Again, Heaven Can Wait is about, I take on it that it's about someone who doesn't want to die yet. Heaven Can Wait. Time, I've got more time. The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner is a classic. I believe it's a classic poem. I'm just going to check that 1 second. No, I got that wrong. It's a book, which was made into a film in 1962, and it says it was a metaphor for running away from society. Now, I'm a long-distance runner, and have been for a very long time, and I do understand where they're coming from, because in that moment when you're out on the road and you've got 40 kilometers ahead of you, either in a race day or a training day, you are running away, basically, because no one can talk to you. No one can be with you. It's almost like being on a long distance flight. You can't be contacted. Well, you couldn't be at one time, but I think you can now. But you can't get away. You can just be away. It's when you're not near your Wi-Fi and you're not near your phone and you're just being one. And I think that's and the song itself, I think, portrays that. Bruce's lyric and vocal performance in it has that sense of lament and that getting away from society, which I think is, again, beautiful as what Maiden does so well. As I said, musically, this is a music podcast, let's talk about the music as well. The synth guitars, the Steve's bass is, as always, dramatic and fast and heavy and dynamic. Nico, what can I say about Nico? Nico's drums will always be Nico's drums. I mean, I once saw an interview with Tommy Lee, and he said that when they would if you want to watch a drummer who looks like an athlete when he plays, go behind the drums and watch Nico, because he's just like an octopus on acid. That's my bit. I didn't say, Tommy didn't say that. I've said that. And then you've got deja vu again. So if any of you have ever ever experienced deja vu, pardon me, you may not believe in deja vu. You may not believe in deja vu. You may not believe in. I'm just joking. Where you've lived it before. The classic Monty Python sketch. Please, if you get a chance to look it up, the Milkman sketch with the deja vu sums it up completely. And then we get to Alexander the Great, and I love this. They've put the brackets 356-323 BC, close brackets. Those that don't know anything about Alexander the Great, those who are not interested in history, honestly, please do yourself a favour. One of the greatest men who ever lived, son of Prince, I think it's Philip. He was a learned man, an intellectual man, and he paved the way, as the lyric says, paved the way for Christianity, marching on. He conquered all of Asia Minor. He brought philosophy, art, the art of war, the art of diplomacy across Europe. He basically, people say that Rome created Europe, the Roman Empire created Europe. I'd say that he's on par with Alexander the Great in creating the Europe we know of today, an Asia Minor. And I mean, he died of fever in Babylon, so he was a young man when he died. Some people say he was assassinated, others say he just died. No one knows where he's buried. I think it was probably done deliberately to avoid martyrdom, maybe. I don't know. Still an amazing human being. Please, I've not given him justice by what I've said. I'm sure there is more to Alexander the Great than what I am saying. But if you listen to the lyric, now, interestingly, again, what we said about Maiden, I got into a lot of my love of history because of Maiden. A lot of my love of literature and poetry because of Maiden. And Alexander the Great was one of those first ones. I remember listening to the song and having to go, he died of fever in Babylon. Oh, looking, going to the library, I was in the library grabbing a book, a quick flick through a potted history of Alexander the Great. And there's several names in history that you know of when you hear them and don't know much about. Alexander the Great, Hannibal, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, Ptolemy. These people, you go, I need to listen. And of course, Alexander the Great was around during the Ptolemaic, or just before the Ptolemaic Empire, and I think he was a pharaoh at one point. Fascinating man. Anyway, that aside, brilliant song. It has the feel, as that lovely spoken word intro. This kingdom I give to thee is too small for thee, and it is Maiden, as I keep saying. And I was having dinner with my good friend John the other night, and he said to me, I'd mentioned that you always remember the dessert, and you always remember the dessert. And with Maiden, the last track is usually their best. And they cap off the album with a solid gold corker, and they have done with Alexander the Great, my favourite of the longer epic songs of the early period of Maiden. That aside, let's now dive into the amazing album. I've got to get some paper, so rustle. Here we go. As I said, there's 45 physical artwork pieces in jokes in this album. Now, Derek Riggs painted the album. It took him a month, I believe, to paint a 15 by 22 artwork. It has so many things on there. I'm going to sort of, where I am? I'm going to flick through things here. Okay, let's grab some stuff. You've got the album in front of you, I hope. Are you sitting comfortably? Let's begin. The street sign on the corner where Eddie is standing reads Acacia, partially obscured, a reference to the song 22 Acacia Avenue from The Number of the Beast, from the 1982 album. Below the acacia is a poster of Eddie from the first album with graffiti reading Eddie Lives. Torn posters are also featured on the Sanctuary and Women's in Uniform singles. Yeah, it's amazing. An Eye of Horus neon sign is at the top of the building, referencing the song Power Slave from the 1984 album of the same name. The haloed black cat from the back cover of the Live After Death album is on the pavement behind Eddie. So would you have picked it up? I wouldn't have picked it up. I mean, I'm sure those eagle-eyed maiden nuts might have done. Derek Riggs' signature is to be found on Eddie's chest. I've looked for that. I didn't see it the first time. Yes, I saw it then. A clock reading 23:58, 2 minutes to midnight. Now that's also on the Wasted Years single cover, I believe. We've got below the clock there was a sign which reads Phantom of the Opera House, in reference to the song Phantom of the Opera from the first album. Again, love those little in-jokes. I mean, this Derek Riggs and the band really worked hard on that. Flying over the Aces High bar is a Spitfire, the same Spitfire from the Aces High cover. To the left of the Aces High bar are 4 letters in yellow and green. These are Hebrew letters spelling out the name of God, or Yahweh. That one, I'd love people to sort of get back on me and tell me what that's about. I don't believe that Maiden are overly religious people. There's no, apart from Heaven Can Wait on the album, maybe that's the only one that sort of really talks about heaven. Anyway, so it might be that. Among the pyramids in the is a Grim Reaper, similar to that which appears on the covers to the Trooper and the Live After Death. Now the pyramids are in the back, near the clouds. The cinema is named Philip K. Dick Cinema. Love that. Named after the author of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is what the name of the short story was that they took for Blade Runner, which Steve Harris says the album is mainly based on or attributed to. More Blade Runner references include the Decker's department store, as in the Tyrrell Corp, sign both from the album, from the movie. There's also the background of the Bradbury Towers can be seen, a reference to the Bradbury building, which is prominent in Blade Runner, and also, I would say, a reference to Ray Bradbury, the amazing science fiction author who probably influenced Philip K. Dick. On the second floor of the Ruskin Arms, which is the building that the pub that Iron Maiden first played in, there is a poster that says Iron Maiden. On the second floor, the building, there is a woman sitting in a red lit room, which is a reference to Charlotte the Harlot, a repeated character in the band's songs, which was also a song, side note, brought to the band by Adrian Smith from his previous band Urchin. Okay. There's also above the Ruskin Arms is a neon sign that reads Rainbow, another famous venue where Iron Maiden recorded a video in 1980, one of the best live recordings of their earlier years that you'll get. On the roof of the same building is a TARDIS from the BBC TV series Doctor Who. The TARDIS also features on the cover of Wasted Years, another time-related nuance. Above the Bradbury Tower neon sign is Icarus in flames falling from the sky in the same style of the cover from the band's 1983 single Flight of Icarus. According to Riggs, Icarus is supposed to look like the logo used by Swan Song, by the Swan Song label founded by Led Zeppelin. This goes on, guys. It goes on. 1 second, my computer has decided to sleep. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, didn't know where I was. On the walkway above the clock is an electronic sign that says last results. West Ham 7, Arsenal 0. I'm going to repeat that, being a lifelong West Ham fan. West Ham 7, Arsenal 0. Now, West Ham, if any keen West Ham Iron Maiden fan knows, they are called the Irons, so is West Ham. All the band are Iron Maiden fans. They all grew up in the East End of London. In fact, Steve Harris had trials for the team, and if he had got in, he probably would be playing football, not being in the best band in the world. Hey, that much talent. I don't know what I'd want, playing for West Ham or being an Iron Maiden. I think I'd probably choose Maiden, as football can wane. And there's a side story to that. I don't know if I told it in the podcast before, but I had trials for QPR juniors team. I failed. I didn't turn up to the guitar classes at school because I wanted to play football in the school break. More for me, because now I'm not a great guitarist, but I was a steady, adequate football player. It says it all, really, doesn't it? There is a sign which reads, "Tonight, Gypsy's Kiss," a reference to Harris's first band. So fantastic. I love this stuff. There's a synonym sign, a SYNCOM sign refers to the 1961 NASA program of the same name. So space again, time-related themes. The neon sign above the band reads Maggie's Revenge, a reference to the British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, who appears on the cover of Sanctuary and Women in Uniform. Another great single. Now that leads me, side note wise, to cover versions. I had no idea growing up listening to those songs that I ever live in Australia, married to an Australian who loves Skyhooks and whose single Maiden covered in Women in Uniform. Why they chose Women in Uniform, I have no idea. Was it a big single in the UK? I was too young to know that. I really love to know that, why they chose that particular song. If anyone out there knows why, hey, let me know. I'd love to know. Okay. On the right side of the walkway just above the last result sign, is the bracket that holds Hetty's skull together from the Peace of Mind album, which Riggs drew as a cartouche. Now, if you know what a cartouche is, it's like a bowl kind of thing, a skull bowl you drink from. Fascinating inputs, So, I mean, I can go on and on there. I'm not going to bore you with so much, and I'd like you, the dear listener, to go in and have a look. Okay, there is one last one. To the left of the clock is a sign that reads Herbert Alice, a reference to the author Frank Herbert, who wrote the book June, upon which the Iron Maiden song To Tame a Land is based. Herbert had also died the same year, explaining the word Alice. The reference also refers to the unfriendly response the band received from Herbert via his agent regarding permission to use June as the song title. Beneath the Phantom Opera House sign, there was a sign that reads EMI-REC. All that band's albums outside of North America have been released on EMI Records. I'll leave it at that. Now, yes, so there are lots of fan-based websites, as I found, about this album cover. It is as intricate and as wonderful as the music that is held within it. I hope that you love this song and album as much as I do. I hope you love the packaging. I hope you went to the Somewhere Back in Time tour like I did and bought every shirt like I did, and just revelled in the time that we spent with the band. So it all becomes time. If I was to take and add up every minute that I've spent in the company of said fellows of Iron Maiden, it would be sinful to be believed. But is it wasted time? Is it wasted years? No, it's not. Every minute of every moment I've loved, and I cannot wait to share next week's episode with you. Right now, I'm quite toyed with what it's going to be. I'm tied. I don't know what it is yet. I've got it out of 4 albums. Not sure, but we'll work it out, and I'll get back to you about it. Please, like I said, like and subscribe. Play this album. Look at the record. If you can't get hold of the album cover, and the CD cover's all you've got, you can go online and Google the album, and you can look on on Google Images, and you'll find all of those little inside jokes and moment or comments before that I've mentioned, and maybe more. I'd also like you to play the album and play it loud. It can sound sometimes, to me it sounds like Maiden. People say it doesn't, and I say bar you, who to you, because it does. Because everything they do is Maiden, whether it's an acoustic number, whether it's like something out of time for them. Like they played on a lot of songs on the last couple of albums that weren't really Maiden-esque. I say, shut up, listen, put your prejudice behind, because you're going to enjoy it either way. Anyway, that's me. Time's up in my company. I'm going to go and reheat my tea now. I'm going to go and do some stuff, listen to some more music, make some more notes. I think I'm going to put on Somewhere in Time even louder than I did before. And I'll talk to you on the other side, guys. And keep safe, keep well, keep rocking. Bye from Tone. Bye.